You are thrown overboard into the ice-cold water. Your body is tightly attached to the ship with a rope. You are supposed to drown, but not right away. First, you are dragged under the ship's keel, covered in sharp seashells and barnacles, cutting your skin. Later, the water gets inside your lungs, making breathing increasingly difficult. This is just one of the numerous cruel tortures that pirates and sailors underwent in the golden age of piracy. In this video, you will find out about the most horrific methods of pirate torture of that time, as well as about the rules and laws, the violation of which called for these punishments. However, I am warning you, as always, viewer discretion is advised. Imagine it is mid-18th century, and you are earning a living by piracy. You have had a tough day, so you and your pirate colleagues have decided to relax a little. You are singing 15 Men on a Dead Man's Chest. Rum is flowing, but after a few extra glasses, the fists are out, and you are pummeling a fellow crewman. The fight's brought to an end by the captain shouting, "Bring in the cattails." This might sound funny, but the moment the cat is in the captain's hands, nobody is going to be laughing. That is because the cattails is a meter-long whip made of a hemp fabric with 9 knotted twines. Every knot on the twine ends was made to tear the skin like the claws of an angry cat. You are told to stretch out your arms, and then you are tied to a mast, or laid face down upon a cannon. The boatswain's mate is standing behind you, slowly unraveling the whip's knotted twines as if delaying the moment of the punishment, waiting for the crowd to come and watch the spectacle. When the captain swings the whip, it swooshes through the air. Its knotted ends plow into the skin, leaving deep grooves. The 30th swing of the whip is so unbearable that you pass out, only to wake up after the next strike. Drinking earns 10 lashes, but fighting brings 50. More serious punishments follow military tribunals, and Royal Navy records mention 200 lashes for desertion, 300 for mutiny, and even 500 for stealing. These punishments struck not only pirates, but also prisoners of war. One soldier who survived such torture in 1832 described the pain as a knife splitting his body. His lungs hurt more than his back, and he felt his organs ready to burst. He bit his tongue to stop himself from screaming, and nearly choked to death. Survivors often said the punishment was meant to break, not kill, yet many died from blood loss, heart failure, or infection. Without antibiotics, hundreds of wounds became deadly. Even those who lived carried scars for life. Cabin boys received a lighter version of the cat o' nine tails made with 5 smooth cords. Adults were whipped on the back, while boys were struck on the buttocks. Still, both versions served as public intimidation. Breaking pirate laws meant your chances of surviving punishment dropped sharply. You ignored this truth and stole a silver compass from the captain. The crewman you had beaten earlier wasted no time reporting you. Your sentence is keelhauling. Stripped to shirt and pants, your limbs are bound, and a heavy chain is tied to your feet. 2 ropes secure you from both sides of the ship. Once thrown overboard, you are dragged beneath the hull lined with razor-sharp shells. Your skin tears open, saltwater burns your wounds, and seawater fills your lungs as you struggle for air. Some sources describe victims being given an oil-soaked sponge to hold in their mouth, allowing tiny breaths underwater, but this only prolonged the agony. As you are dragged through the water, sharks circle drawn by your blood. Fortunately, the captain ends the torture and hauls you back aboard astonished you are still alive. Infection will likely follow, and many sailors died instantly if the ropes tightened too much, tearing off limbs, or even the head. Keelhauling was official in the Dutch Navy, and rare in the English Navy. Records tell of sailors like Jan Blanc in 1652 who did not survive. A similar punishment was ducking at the yard, where a person was repeatedly dropped into the sea, sometimes dragged under the keel while a cannon fired overhead. Yet an even crueler fate awaited those accused of mutiny, a punishment that killed not through violence, but through slow, hopeless isolation. Everyone supported your mutiny except one traitor. Now you stand before the captain as he announces your fate with cold finality: marooning. You are cast onto a tiny scrap of land with a barrel of water, some pilot bread, and a gun with a single bullet, not for protection but for ending your suffering once despair becomes unbearable. Heat drains the moisture from your body, your water runs out quickly, and hunger twists your stomach. Your skin blisters under the sun and bleeds with time. Isolation slowly breaks your mind, visions appear, and you speak to rocks. You consider using the gun many times. Yet marooning did not always end in death. In 1720, pirate Captain Edward England was abandoned for sparing the life of James McCrae, a captured captain. England's crew considered mercy a weakness and left him on an island with minimal supplies. But the island was inhabited, and the locals helped him survive. He built a small boat and reached Madagascar in 10 days. Alexander Selkirk, the inspiration for Robinson Crusoe, was stranded after arguing that his ship needed repairs. Left behind against his will, he survived for 4 years by hunting goats and finding fresh water until rescued in 1709. In another case, sailor Robert Jeffrey survived marooning when an American schooner rescued him. His captain Lake was dismissed by the Royal Navy for violating maritime law by abandoning him. So you hesitate to pull the trigger. Hope, however unlikely, might still arrive. But hope ends the moment you see the red stain on your hands. You have tried to kill your captain. The crew seizes you, dragging you toward a punishment far worse than marooning. Popular culture often shows pirates forcing victims to walk the plank, but this was more psychological terror than standard execution. At times, slaves considered extra mouths were forced off the plank when food supplies ran low. Writers like Daniel Defoe and Robert Louis Stevenson later cemented the image into legend. But your fate is real. Before a roaring crowd, you are led to a towering wooden frame above the sea. Chained inside an iron cage, you endure scorching sun by day and freezing winds by night. Breathing grows harder with each passing hour, and your suffering has only begun. But that is just the beginning. Just like during marooning, you are dying from hunger. And all this is happening in front of the crowd, watching you with contempt every day, or even happy to see you in agony. In some cases, the bodies were left there until their clothes rotted away, or even until the corpses decomposed completely, after which the bones would be scattered around. Captain Kidd, one of the most famous pirates, was hanged on the bank of the Thames where the tides submerged him 3 times. One of those times, the rope was torn, and the man fell to the ground. He could have saved himself but had no energy left to escape. Captain Kidd was recaptured immediately and put back in the cage where his body, and later his remains, kept hanging over the Thames for 23 more years. They say some parts of the skeletons of pirates John Bread in the East Sussex and William Fly in Boston still remain at the place of their execution. Now you are the one being led to the gallows. Suddenly, you break free and jump into the sea. I hope you are a fast swimmer, even with your hands tied. Brutal pirate torture used to be the norm back in the day, but can such cruelty ever be justified? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe. I've got plenty of videos debunking myths and stereotypes.